What's up, everybody? It's me, the beautiful, the lovely, the delicious D.H. Thorne, and the handsome, powerful, macho Kamila T. Thorne over there.
I love your deliciousness.
Mrs. T, and I got my swirly ball here, too. I may go get my birdie, since everybody seems to like when I have the birdie out. But yeah, I just wanted to do a little bit of a stream today since we didn't do one last night, and the beautiful Kamila wanted to join us. Let's do a mic check, make sure we can hear ourselves.
Check, check.
Hopefully everybody can hear us good. If you can't hear us, let us know. We're using Skype, the idiocracy of Skype as usual.
The pain in the ass of Skype.
the PETA of Skype. But welcome to everybody. We already got 16 people watching. That's really cool. So in a second, we'll say hi to everybody. I don't know, Kamila, do you have any faculties there, or are you just watching me on the stream, or what do you have?
Oh no, I have my phone here. I can see the live chat if need be.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So yeah, so let's say hi to everybody. We got Wyatt as usual. What's up, Wyatt? We got Alistar the NP Demon. What's up? Faustian is here, and he says, hello, everyone. Wyatt. Go-Go. What's up, Go-Go? Yes, I suppose I'm a legend, only in my own mind, if nothing else. But hopefully everything's going good in Croatia, my friend. I'm glad to see you. Stu Henny is here. What's up, Stu? Hopefully get some good comments out of you again tonight. Today. It's not tonight. It's nighttime somewhere, probably in Croatia, not here in America. What time is it there in Croatia, my friend? It's probably early in the morning, right?
Not in New York, it's not.
Not here in Long Island. It's pretty much the afternoon, and you're going to be, you know, a little bit of this and a little bit of bobbity boom. You know what I mean? Hey, Kelly, what's up, Kelly? Happy Friday afternoon. I still have yard work to do soon. Well, enjoy your yard work. David Morgan says, howdy, everybody. It's been a long while. And Synoid, I'm going to say it's Sykesnoid? Sykesnoid says hello. Faustian says 9 p.m.
Looks like Pixnoid to me.
Oh, yeah, maybe it's Pixnoid. Pixnoid? Pixnoid. No.
Void is here too.
He says, nice. Finally caught a live stream on time. LOL. I don't think he's from England or anything or whatever, but I just felt like doing a Cockney accent a little bit. So I haven't quite got everything in mind for what we're going to do today, except Kamila does have some new stuff to show everybody, and that's part of the reason she wanted to come on, but she also just wanted to hang out.
Working on more bullshit and all that fun crap, yeah.
Yeah, gives us an excuse to talk to each other instead of just look at each other and touch each other's pee-pee parts and all that. Yeah.
Stare at each other from across the room and hope we notice each other, kind of thing.
Yeah, or you know, the other thing.
Hey.
But yeah, so oh, Void's a she. Oops, sorry, Void. Then Kamila, would you mind doing the Cockney accent for Void? I didn't know Void was a she.
Oh, I'm not very good at
It's not about being good at it.
Man, I can't just come out with things, but yeah.
It's not about being good at it. You just do it till you're good at it. It's like riding a bicycle.
I can't do it on call like that.
Sink pissers, rise up! What's up, Andrew? You know, I haven't pissed in a sink in a long time. Yeah. Void asks, are you guys still doing a meetup at the end of the month? Yes, indeed we are. I should do a reveal video about that. I have done some posts about it. It's going to be in Newark, New Jersey on September the 30th. It starts at about 8 p.m., but you probably want to get there a little bit early just to make sure you don't have any issues, because there can be parking issues out there, and it's not the greatest. Although where the club is, it's pretty okay, but Newark is Newark. Okay, it's kind of a little bit, you know. Look, you're getting the full experience. That's all I'm saying. It's Newark, so you know, be safe is what I'm gonna say. But it starts at 8 o'clock. It's at a club called QXTs. I'll put the name of it in the chat. Maybe we can look this up in a minute. QXTs.
QXT.
And let me see if I can find the website for Iron Garden at least. This will get you. Yeah, here we go. So if you look here, it should be right on the main. Oops, where'd my chat go? There it is. So we're going to pin this one. We'll pin this one. If you go to this link, it should be the main page there, right on that page. It should be the very first picture on the right, Iron Garden, with the date, September 30th, 8 p.m. It's got all the basic info that you're going to need. If you're going to the Newark area, Kamila and I, as well as a few other people, Fleshy, Eddie, Lamia, and some other cool people from the community are going to be spending the night at, and I think Alpha as well, are going to be spending the night at a local hotel. If you really want a lot of detail, if you want to get more involved, if you want to make sure you're on top of everything, join our Discord, which is in the link in the description of this video and all my videos. There's a Linktree that has a link to my Discord page or Discord group. Join that group. Make sure you answer the questions when you join, because there's nothing worse. People will join and they don't respond to the initial query for information about who you are, and then they get ignored. So if you want to be fully let in, if you want all the access to everything, you got to answer the doorway question, so to speak. And then once you're fully let in, I hate to make through so many hurdles, but you know, you got to keep the riffraff out. Once you get through all those hurdles, there is a channel in the Discord called the East Coast Meetup Group. Keep in mind, the Discord is for 18 over only, please. Only 18 and over. I hear Wyatt's trying to invent a time machine. Because he used to be part of there, but we had to let him out because we only let people who are 18 and over in there for obvious reasons. So there, you know, there's NSFW stuff in there occasionally. So,
you know, it really does blow my mind how many people don't even answer the questions and are still in limbo.
What's that?
It blows my mind how many people are still in limbo at the front gates.
Oh, for sure. Like it's like they join it and they don't, and there's
They
nothing.
don't follow through. It's just like, all right, okay.
You can DM them and everything, and they're just like crickets. It's
yeah.
like, okay.
I mean, I put mentions in there. I said, hey, please answer the questions, everybody who's here, and nothing. So
nothing. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not a very active stream today, but hopefully it'll pick up a little bit.
It's a Friday and it's during the day, and
yeah,
some people work Fridays, unlike us.
And I haven't been pushing all of my stuff lately. Like there was a time there where I was a fiend about if I was going to do a project or something, I was constantly trying to get myself seen on social media. I posted in like dozens of groups, and you know, there was more to it. And of course I had the new shiny all over me at the time, the new occultist smell. So that doesn't hurt, but you know, it's just how it is. You know, I think a lot of people are kind of like, you know, got busy things to do during the day, like you said. But it's like that during Thursdays too. It seems like people are just elsewhere with their attention. Like, probably, I bet you if I went on TikTok, I'd be popular on TikTok.
Oh yeah. Because
I'd probably be getting into fights with like woke idiots all day long.
You mean Kami Talk?
Yeah, Kami Talk. I will never, by the way, never, unless that's cleaned out and removed from CCP control, I will never touch TikTok. Yeah. Everyone goes, why don't you do stuff on TikTok? Number one, it's run by the CCP, so by default, I'm not going to use it. Now, yes, everything has like connections to CCP crap. I'm not going to use it though, because that is like directly tied to CCP stuff. It is also, I don't like
attempted to be hidden.
I don't like short form content either. I you know, maybe I'm too verbose, maybe I talk too much, but I don't do I just don't do that shit. I don't like doing minute-long videos. I'm not saying I won't do them. I'm just saying I don't like doing them, and I can't stand that how addictive they are to watch. Like it's like call me a boomer, but I know what they're up to. You know, I know why they do this. They're shortening attention spans, and in so doing, they're making it easier to control your brain. And I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm not saying that there's nothing to it. I used to love Vines. I used to love all that shit. But I also know that that shouldn't be the main way that we fucking do videos. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, I'm here with Styx Hexenhammer, like when he says, you know, I remember when it was a big step forward when YouTube allowed for longer videos in widescreen format. And then all of a sudden now they're trying to push everybody into vertical fucking short form videos. Like, fuck you. You know. Alistair asks a funny question. For a beginner, would you recommend Hobby Lobby for a basic thing or two? Look, you get it wherever you can get it. If you don't, so when it comes to tools for magical purposes, anything is fine. Okay, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be anything to begin with. But there is something to be said for those artifacts of power which have some presence in the collective consciousness. There was a great video game that came out not long ago called Control, and Desmond loved it, you know, and you know, Fleshy, and he got me into it, and I played it. I mean, I wouldn't play it over and over again, but I loved the vibe. I loved the principles of it. You know, it had like this whole SCP thing going on. It was really
I never
cool.
beat that one yet.
You never beat that one? Oh, okay. Well, anyway.
I'd start playing something else instead.
One of the things that I really liked about it was its take on occult subjects. And one of the things that it sort of postulated and brought forward was that things require time to become sort of connected in the collective consciousness with certain archetypes and symbolism, okay? So, for example, when you think of a telephone, a lot of kids today got no problem thinking of one of these jammies. But to me, a telephone is that old school, you know, handset with the cord on it attached to the wall. So when we're talking about, if we're talking about a symbol of communication, to me, that or something even older, like the old school one where you like had a little cup to your ear and you speak into the thing on the wall, like those are all symbols of like communication that are like firmer in the collective conscious. For a recording device, an old tape recorder or something like that is more in the collective conscious as a recording device than this is, again. So we see in Control, things that are like antiques are the things that are magical or weird or supernatural. Okay, so in our own practices today, there is something to be said for an antique, even if it's not meant to be magical, just an antique object that represents the symbolism of what you're going for, than something you bought on Amazon for $350. Okay, you know, for example, I've got these little, you know, Yijing coins here, these little Chinese coins that I use for Yijing now, and these are just cheap shit Amazon garbage that came as a set with a box of stuff. Do they work? Yes, they work. Of course they work. Of course, I Ching's a little different. You can kind of get away with a little bit, you know, a little bit different stuff. That's why it's fine. But if I'm talking about like a wand, or I'm talking about an athame, or I'm talking about anything like that, I want to get something that is either A, an antique, B, self-crafted, C, crafted by an expert artisan specifically for the purpose. Which kind of is a good segue into what my wife is doing.
Ew.
She is crafting magical black mirrors. And although we don't buy anything from Hobby Lobby, and there is, of course, a meme in there going to Hobby Lobby, which is this hardcore Christian establishment for stuff for witchcraft and satanic and Luciferian activities, that is pretty funny, I will admit. Besides that, making things yourself, getting stuff from an antique store, all of those things are superior, okay? That doesn't mean that I haven't bought stuff on Amazon and made it work, but usually as something that I am going to modify or self-craft, okay? I'll buy raw materials off of Amazon, sure. I'll buy a wand off of Amazon that I intend to completely transfigure with my skills and turn it into something completely different. Like I bought a wand off of Amazon that was carved into the shape of basically a dragon. It looks really fucking cool.
Yep.
But by itself, it ain't enough. Like I look at this, I'm like, yeah, this is one of a million of them. So what did I do? I carved out a spot in it to insert a crystal, and I wire wrapped it. And in fact, I'm gonna go get it. So give me a second. I'll be right back. Kamila, why don't you entertain them with crap that you make that's beautiful, and I'll be right back.
Well, I'm going to say, you know, you do have to make things your own. If you do buy things, you have to make it your own. It definitely gives it more power that way. Yeah, I'm going to start with something I'm working on right now. I can't see if he's back because my camera doesn't work that way for some reason on stream. I can only see myself. So I'll just wonder when he's back and listen for him. Anyway, this is a little something I'm working on right now. It's for the different cardinal directions. They are the elements, obviously. And this is fire. and each triangle goes according to the direction of the like the old
All right, I'm back.
the old school symbol of the elements, you know, point up versus point down. Water is pointed down, so I have that one pointed down.
Oh, beautiful.
It's actually my favorite.
Well, it should be. It's your sign, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Yes, it is, but it came out my favorite too. And this is wind. Wind for me was a little hard to depict. I had other ideas, but they just didn't pan out. And this is earth, signified by the ancient Chinese coin that they tend to use for that symbol.
In fact, it's not just Chinese. A lot of cultures had the hole in the middle of their coins. It was pretty normal.
But typically that's one of the things that they use to represent earth, metals, well, metal and earth, yeah, but yeah. So I decided to use that because I didn't want the typical mountaintop for earth. I wanted something a little different. Mm-hmm. And another thing that I actually just put up today for listings are sigil frames,
which are freaking cool. I love that idea.
And you could use it inverted, just turn the symbol the other way. But they all come with about 20 sheets of paper, and you can swap them out. And then when you're done, you know, you do your usual burning of the sigil and all that crap.
Yeah. So here's my wando. So which of those things are up yet? What's up before I go into the wand?
What's up?
Which of those things are up yet, if anything?
Oh, the sigil frames are up, and I have a couple more mirrors that went up today.
Yeah. How much are the sigil frames?
The sigil frames, I believe I listed for 30.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, no, that's
good. They come with 2 white gel pens and 20 pieces of high quality, not construction paper, high quality black paper that is cut to fit the frame.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So for $30, I'm not trying to do an ad thing here, guys, but yeah, no, I would buy that. That's. In fact, I want one soon. Please make me one just for me. I want one just for me.
I already did.
Make one just for me.
All right, I'll make another one. Gotta have 2 in the house of everything.
Just for me. I mean it.
Just for you. I'll make it just for you.
Just for me. All right.
Just for you.
So this is just a box I got on Amazon that looked really cool that, you know, I could use to keep my my wand secure in. And this is the one I've been using the most lately. I did make another one which was really good, but this is the one I'm using the most now. So this is just a cheap wand that I bought for like, I don't know, 40, 50 bucks. It's made out of wood. They said it's ebony, but I don't know if it's real ebony. It's probably not real ebony. But then what I did was I hollowed out the tip and I inserted a crystal and I wire wrapped it to make it look extra. So this is my wand now. And this one, when I first bought it, was like, okay, it's a stick. But now, because of the addition of the crystal, the way it feels, it's got authority in it. Like, that's the only way I can say it. It's got absolute authority. And it's like, I really got lucky with this crystal, because this is like a really good crystal for this. Nice, natural, double terminated crystal. It's a little bit fragmentary on one end, but that's the part that's inserted, and of course I made sure it fit really good. So it's really one of my favorites. Yes, it's copper wire, Andrew, as it should be.
I love what you did with that one.
Yeah, so that allows me to channel and attune projections of energy into things. So it's one of my favorites, but I actually like this one the best now. That's my favorite one, to be honest. I like my original one. It's still really powerful, but I like this one. Just feels like wand. This one says wand to me.
Screams wand.
So Faustian said 3D printing artifact. Is the magic removed? All right. So I'm gonna finish the question, but is the magic removed for handcraft not being involved, or is it like a printed sigil? On the other hand, 3D printing is a cult in itself. I mean, it depends on your definition of what magic means and is. If you think magic is like an energy force, You've got a whole bunch of superstitious stuff you've got to work around in your mind. I don't do it that way. That's not what it means to me. It's not something, you don't inject magic into things. It's magic is, so I operate more on like a Vedic or Advaitin principle or Neoplatonic principle about all things. That includes magic, okay? The concept of magic. The traditional meaning, I like the word Maya, which is like, it means magic, it means illusion, it means delusion, it means all of that. It's like a mirage. So all of this is Maya. All of this is an illusion. All of this is not real. There was, I forget who it was, I forget who the scientist or the philosopher's name was, but they spoke of the phenomenal and the noumenal world, okay? We live in a phenomenal world. That is to say, we live in the world that our minds perceive, that consciousness perceives through the mind, and that world is not the real world. We see a reflection of that world through our minds. The real world is something invisible that you can't see, and that world is the noumenal world. That is something you could call the Brahman, the immortal, the absolute, the divine. The true world is the true self, okay? Magic is like this superficial, like Maya is this superficial thing. It is not the real world. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't represent the real world. It just means that it's not the real world. You've probably heard me say a million billion times already that, like, you know, the flame on the end of this lighter is not the actual reality of fire. The actual reality of fire is an enigma, which no one has seen, no one has ever heard, no one has ever felt, because it is noumenal. It is beyond the senses. It is not phenomenal. It is the thing from which all the phenomenon project, okay? So what you see as fire is not fire, but fire is causing you to see that fire, that thing we call fire, okay? So what does this mean for magic? Well, it means that there is sort of this enigmatic quality to our to our interaction with this simulacrum, this phenomenal simulacrum. There is an enigmatic quality to it, which includes this ability to transcend the phenomenological illusion and touch with our finer refinement of consciousness the absolute divine enigma itself. So what does that mean? So as this visible fire is a symbol for the actual flame, connecting to the actual flame is the activity of magic in this conversation, okay? Like when we're talking about magic, that's what we're really talking about. We're talking about becoming conscious, vividly conscious of not the symbol of fire, but the enigma of fire itself, the real fire. And that fire is not separate from the rest of the divine. That fire is, the word fire is inappropriate. The word fire is just another fucking symbol, okay? You have to transcend all the symbols to get to the noumenal, to get to the actual, to get to the reality, the divine reality of what that fire is representing. When you can connect to that, you have done a work of, you are now capable of and have done a work of magic. Just that connection is magic, okay? In terms of how we're talking about magic. Now, everybody's got a different definition of what magic means, to be fair. But that is one way to describe what we're talking about. So does a piece of 3D printed material have less magic in it? No, it has nothing to do with it. Can you connect to the noumenal source of that thing easily when it's something cheap and thrifty that is just made out of cheap shit? Yes, but it's harder. It's not that you can't, it's just harder to do it. Okay? Again, grandfather's sword versus one you bought off of fucking Amazon? Which one represents sword to you more? Okay, grandpa's old whittling knife versus one you just bought off of Amazon. Which one holds more psycho-spiritual connection to the noumenal in your mind's eye? Of course, the one that's got time on this earth, that's got a story to it, that's had time to build up representational connection to the noumenal divine. That is why things that have an oldness to them are genuinely and generally better for practicing magic. Not always, not necessarily, not by a rule. Some people, like real postmodern minded people, like new shit. They like inverting those tropes, and they like saying, oh, I don't do magic with a really expensive wand. I literally use a chopstick. And they get off on that, and for them, it works for them. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment that way. It is just that in my experience, for the average person, connecting to the noumenal reality that that thing represents is the thing that has more character, more antiquity, more story to it. It's got a soul of its own, and that soul is the noumenal. It's all one soul, but that soul which is described, that part of soul which is described by that object. So this lighter isn't by itself necessarily very magic. Although if you use it enough times, sure, I think it would. You inscribe sigils all over it, you really make it your symbol of fire, then now you've got a symbol of fire you can work with. That's why I say you go from things you make or things you find that are antiquated are the two, like, it's debatable which one's better. Some people it's going to be the thing that they make themselves. Some things it's going to be the antique. For some people, it's an antique that you customize somehow. That's like the top of the top of the top. Everybody's a little bit different, okay? But I like the stuff, either or, stuff I've made, stuff I've crafted, stuff I've modded, antiques or both together. That's the cream of the crop. Stuff that I just bought off of Amazon that is, magic wand number 432 out of, whatever, that to me is just a stick. And for it to become something magical requires time and practice and energy. It can, but it generally doesn't start that way. And Kamila's showing some handcrafted goodness. These are all UV active, by the way, so. Yeah, Alistair, which one says knife more strongly is what a knife truly is. Right, I mean, that's sort of a way to put it. I mean, it's not that it's not a knife. It's not that it's not a knife just because it's new. It just means which one really is screaming to you knife. Something that's been used and is rugged and proven and is a fucking knife, or something that you just got off of a store, right? That's a way to look at it, Alistair. Yes, antiques really have a whole section of life to draw from, don't they? Exactly. So imagine a scrying mirror, okay? Or any kind of mirror, a magical mirror you're going to use. One of the reasons why I like to use antiques is because in my mind, I'm picturing all the faces that have stared into that mirror and shot energy into it. Imagine all those people, especially like a mirror from that's been passed down for a few generations, an old antique mirror, especially if it's a mirror that someone might have gazed into while they're crying or laughing or whatever, like a vanity mirror or something that someone's been using to judge themselves. So that mirror's got a lot of energy plowed into it by the people that have used it, and it's got a character to it. So I don't change the glass, nothing. I leave it all scratched up, a little scuffed up. That's great. That tells me that thing's been used and it's been there. If it's been in an attic for 100 years, I guess. But something that's been used a lot, that has a lot of attention placed on it, has left a significant mark in the collective conscious already.
But there's something to be said about all the scratches on there too. It does help to,
right.
Go into the Troxler effect of the gazing.
That does help. Yep, it certainly does. It certainly does. That's true, 100%. Now, it doesn't just mean something that looks old. It means, has it left a mark in the collective conscious? My friend has a car that he loves. It was an old Cutlass, and that car was taken from him a while back, and it to this day it's a rend in his heart. But if that car was still there, or he could get a hold of that car, it's from the 60s, and it was his first and only and favorite car. And he kept that thing going for years, and when it was finally taken from him, it really kind of broke his heart. But that car has more magic to him, even though he's not like a magic person. That car holds more magic for him than any new car you could possibly buy him, even one that is objectively better than the car that he had. You could buy him a car that gets 1,000 miles to the gallon, goes 400 miles an hour from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, and all the above, never breaks down. Everything about that car is better. He would still want that old car back. That's because that car had a soul. It had magic to it. Mm-hmm. Okay. It had the magic. And when I say it had magic to it, I don't mean there's magic in it. I mean, it's connected to the reality of what, to him, that car is car. More than any other car, that car is the symbol of carness. Whatever a car is, that's it. And everything else is compared to that. That is his platonic ideal of a car. That's sort of what we're getting at. Okay. There you go. Rupi Karyoja says, I use my grandpa's old knife for magic. Feels most like knife than any other. Exactly. It's exactly my point. Now, can you do that with everything? Of course not. Can you get a set of old antique candles and shit? No, of course not. But if you get things that are special, that also makes a dent. So, for example, if you're just using some shitty old tea lights, will your magic work? Of course it can. That's not going to stop it. But if you can get a hand on some old beeswax or some really nice fancy candles that cost you a little more, there's a little bit more to it for a lot of people. Not for everybody. Again, there are people, they're chaos mage types. They literally can draw a picture of a candle and it's enough. That's perfectly fine. I've done it that way and it works just fine. It's not that it won't work or will work better or whatever. It's just that some people connect better to something like an antique or a handmade good like my wife's making or something like that than they'll ever connect to something that costs $350 on Amazon.
It definitely helps with the psychological aspect when you feel connected to the item.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If there's no connection, it's hard to get into the mood to role play.
Mm-hmm. A major part of consecration, by the way, so consecration is when you take a fresh object and you declare that this is going to be used for magic. But there's one problem with this whole subject, okay? There's no telling if this consecrated object is going to work for you. You haven't had time to establish a rapport with it. So you can consecrate an object right from the beginning. And that's what everybody tells you to do, okay? But consecration is... it's necessary, but it's unnecessary. I personally practice in the mindset that something can be consecrated just through use. But that use has to be dedicated. So in a way, you've consecrated it already by saying, I'm only using it for that. Okay. But consecration is just like, it's just like saying, this is what it's for. It's just a commitment. You're making a commitment to only do it that way. Or you're committing it to a spirit or something like that. It really should say commitment. Consecration should just say commitment, okay, in my mind. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would disagree and say, oh, when you consecrate, you're charging it with energy and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. But the way most people do it, it really means commitment is what it means. I'm committing this object to this practice. Now, you can consecrate something at any point. And a lot of people say, well, when you consecrate it, you purify it and you get rid of it. No, you could, but that's not necessarily what you're doing. Depends on how you go about it. If in your mind's eye, you're wiping it out, resetting it to a clean slate, then sure, that's what you did. But it's really about associations. People think that they're working with like spooky woo, special effects, Hollywood magic, that there is an unseen energy shooting out of their fingers and it's powering things up. If that's your delusion and it works for you, I'm not here to stop you. But what I will suggest to you to realize is that instead of thinking of it as you're literally shooting energy out your finger and charging an object or whatever, that that what you're doing is you're making symbolic connections to the noumenal reality underneath. And that's all you're doing. This is also why not everybody can sense what you've done to something. I know people, and this is something infuriating, because to me, it's like, I see people, they think that magic must be objective to be like, they can, how do I put this? It's almost like they're jealous of science, and they want to make their magic something that can be scientifically proven, because in their mind, it's not real unless it's science. They've believed the story that magic must be scientifically provable to be real. They don't understand what's really going on, so they want it to be another form of technology, is what I'm getting at. So what they'll do is they'll do these games where they'll say, hey, what's up, Max Avery? They'll and what's up, Atropa, by the way? They will take an object and they'll be like, I'm charging this with energy. Can you feel it? And they'll put on this, if you can't feel it, it's your fault. Like, you're not really sensitive to magic if you can't feel it. Well, how do I know you didn't even charge it, right? Like, that's the response that people would have. Like, it becomes this game of who's the better warlock or some bullshit, and it's fucking stupid. When you charge an object with magic, what you're really doing when you charge it for practice and stuff, you're really charging it with, when you say charge, it means something more along, in my opinion, I know this sounds like semantics, just bear with me. When I say charge, like I'm charging this object, it means more like I'm giving it a duty. So like when you say, or like you're charged with this, or I'm charging you to do this, my servant, okay? Like that's an alternative meaning of charge. So when you're charging an object, you're highlighting that object in your consciousness, that this object represents whatever the noumenal thing is that you're using it to be a symbol for. So if I take something, I don't know, let me grab something like this crystal right here. Let me grab this crystal. So if I charge this crystal with some intent that, so what do I want to make sure? I want to make sure that my intent matches what this object generally represents to people. So I might look it up and say, well, what does this usually represent? This is a type of, whatever kind of stone it is. I'm going to look it up and I'm going to, okay. And then once I realize what it generally represents to people, if that agrees with me, if I don't disagree with that, then I'm going to charge it with whatever intention is related to, as close as possible to what that is meant to symbolize. So would you charge, for example, would you charge, let me think of something like really, really opposite. Would you charge your bowl of water with the energy of fire? You could, but would you? Unless it's like a bottle that has Fireball whiskey in it or something, probably not. Okay, you're probably going to charge that with the element of water, not fire. Likewise, when you charge something with an energy, you're going to charge it with something that is symbolically related to what you're charging it with. Why? Because this is making it a portal, a gateway, a paradigm gate, if you will, for consciousness to recognize the noumenal truth behind those symbols. That's what you're trying to connect to. So this wand, right? Let's go back to this wand. Once again, this is like expert level class right here, by the way, just so you know. This would be like if I was doing a class, that's what this would be. This wand, for example, most people associate the wand with the element of fire because for many reasons. One, you can literally light it on fire and it's like a little torch and you can use it to start fires with, okay? So it's the symbol of fire because it carries fire readily. Yes, is it like a symbol of earth because it's wood? Well, some people think earth is wood. It's trees and grass. I don't. For me, the symbol of earth is actually like stones and rock, which things grow out of. Those things growing out of it, okay, are a combination of earth, fire, water, and so on. Mostly earth, water, and fire, okay, because that's sort of what trees are to me, with air, of course, as well. But the wand is a symbol of fire because it is a conductor of fire. So this is a conductor. A conductor of what? What is fire? What is fire pointing at? Is it flame? No, it is not flame per se. Remember, this flame is just a symbol for that element of what fire is. So what is that what is that fire then? What is it? Well, you've got to reach into the noumenal world, the divine. You've got to reach into the abyss. You've got to reach into whatever you call this thing that is untouchable with the mind. And you've got to find that. You've got to find the archetype, the aspect, the word that really, really resonates with what it means. For me, fire usually means conversion. Fire, really, if I was going to sum it up in one word, the element of fire is conversion. It converts, okay? It is the act of converting one thing into another. That's the way that I would use it. So if I'm using this wand, it's because I'm intending to convert one thing into another. I'm intending to, yes, it's a masculine conversion. You're asserting a conversion. You're saying, I want you to change. That's kind of what you're shooting through the wand. You're pointing at it going, change. I want you to change. This much change. So fire is conversion, change. Not that it's changeable. That's water. Water is changeability. Fire is the catalyst, the cause, the thing that changes things. Fire is the changing over. It is the energy of the wave, as the wave is the change moving through things. So I'm shooting into the object, my intention for it to change, for it symbolically to change. This can cause, in sort of a chaotic way, change to occur. Hector Lich says, I mean, fire is DeSantis and DeSantis is Satan. Hail DeSantis. Dude, how about that fucking Martha's Vineyard thing, dude? I don't want to get all political tonight, but damn, that is some grade A fucking trolling right there. Well done. I mean, you know, just well done. I love watching did you know that they just like got the National Guard involved to get rid of those people? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I thought this was like how
in
it was
less than what,
24
hours?
Look, I'm not against immigration at all. I don't want to make it sound like that. It's not about that for me, but it is about, you know, get your papers, motherfucker. That's all I'm saying.
Good for thee, not for me.
Yeah. Look, I'm not saying don't come here. I'm just saying sign the papers, would you? Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. And if you can't, then there's a reason for it, and it should. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. Today's magic. We're not talking about that stuff. So yeah, Void likes the conversion comment. He likes that. That's pretty apt. Yes. Let's see. Alistar says, my spirit guide is a wooden dude. I'm going to split the difference as to whether he is earth or fire elementally. Ironically, he likes sitting next to the campfire with me. Yeah, that's like someone who's like, yeah, that's like. It's like someone sitting next to like a bomb going off. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna take my chance. Yeah, so I mean, again, a lot of this has to do. So it's kind of like mental associations, if I can be brutally honest. Most of magic is a form of correspondence. Okay, and correspondence, people misunderstand what correspondence means, in my opinion. They think that, so for example, someone will say, this is fire, so therefore it's connected to all the fires in the world. Yes and no. All fires in the world connect to the enigma of fire in the noumenal. And there is only one enigmatic fire in the entirety of the divine. It shines in all of these different places as different metaphors, as different, this is a metaphor of fire. It's a symbol for fire. By snuffing this fire, I don't snuff everybody else's fire. Okay, that's obvious, doesn't work that way. However, if I can go through this fire, through this symbol of fire, to the enigma, to the noumenal enigma of fire, I might be able, on some level, to connect to the manifestation of fire in someone else's experience. There is a possibility for connection there. Is it a machine that works that way every time? Absolutely not. There's a lot more going on there than you know, this is not a thing that works like a vending machine. But that is one way to make that connection. You can connect to someone else's candle through the enigma of fire. Does that mean you can snuff their candle, control their, not by influencing the flame on your end, no. Think of it like this. If you're on a phone call with somebody, So I'm on a phone call with somebody. If I hang up my receiver, does that make their phone hang up? Well, their phone will lose a connection to me, but their phone won't be off the hook. Like it won't be, I'm sure it will be off the hook, but it won't be hung up, right? Although modern phones, they just automatically hung up. Go back to the traditional phone, okay? Sorry, let me make this more clear. Go back to a traditional way phones work, where they have the landline thing. And you pick up a phone, you call somebody, they pick up, two people are connecting to the same source. So I'm talking to a source, and that source is talking to their phone, and that's how the sound happens. It's not that my line is connected through a long line of things to somebody else. There's a bunch of relays, and all of those relays are a source for another relay, and so on. And somewhere there's probably a central relay, and that central relay relays it out to everywhere else. So when I'm talking to someone, my voice is converted into electrical current, which travels through the lines to that primary relay source. And that primary relay source sends it out to the other person's phone. If I hang up my phone, that doesn't hang their phone up. It just means that there's no longer something for them to receive. So they hang it up, right? So think of it like that. If I can connect to that enigma of fire, I might, on some level, maybe, if the other person's capable of receiving it, they might be able to connect to what I'm trying to say to them through it. They might try to not say, but do through it. This is where it gets fuzzy. Like it's not cut and dry. But you can connect, sort of like when you're both like if you've got a lover that you're far apart from and you haven't been able to see them for a while, and you're like, hey, you know what? We both live in the same hemisphere. Tonight, look at the moon at 7 o'clock. You know, at the same time I do, and we'll both be looking at the moon at the same time. Can you affect them by looking at that moon? No, but there is a connection there. Is that connection physical? Can you literally tell them something by both of you looking at the moon at the same time? No, but there is a feeling of connection through that moon. Does it make sense now? Hopefully it's making sense now, better sense. The moon in the sky, you looking at it and them looking at it, no message passes between you, but there's a connection there because of that moon. You're both looking at the same source at the same time, having a similar influence shining down on you. That similar influence makes you aligned. It puts you in alignment. There's a connection. So if I connect to the enigma of fire and someone else connects to the enigma, there can be a connection and there can be something. There can definitely be a something. And what that something is, that's a little bit more mysterious. Okay. So, okay, you talk for a minute, honey. I'm losing my voice. Must be all this lemon soda.
What do you want me to say?
You just said something. Just keep saying things.
Something, things. Rutabaga.
Okay, just be hot.
Okay.
Do some thought things. Do like some e-girl stuff.
Oh God.
Do like an ooh or something.
Ooh. I can't do that. You know that.
That's good enough. Somebody's gonna beat off to it later. But you know. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, probably you.
Well, you know, things.
Things and stuff.
So yeah. All right, so we've been here for almost an hour. We're probably going to do 2 hours today, give or take. We're not going to be on here forever today.
I did have a message to pass along to the masses.
To the masses?
Yeah, remember?
No.
It's that ritual on the full moon with Bine.
All right. Yeah, sure.
After I closed it out, Lucifer came to play for a while. Came knocking on the door. Well, let's just say last week I felt a lot of despair, not for myself, but through the world and what's going on. And with our son being in the Navy, he was having a rough week. But I mean, that is all turned around. He's great. But there was a person in the stream last week, and I felt this person's despair through his words or her words. And Lucifer wanted to impart some words of advice to everybody. Clean your house. Integrate your shadows, as what DH is always saying. Make sure you integrate your shadows. The shadows are feasting. Integrate those shadows. His children will be safe, okay? His children will be strong. They are feasting on the weak. Take care of yourself. That's it.
Oh, thank you. That's the hardest part about not having like a live studio audience.
You know,
is like you need that like feedback of like, hey, that was good.
Yeah. I mean, you know, most of the time I don't even get gnosis to share. It's more personal stuff. So this was just something that had to get out there. So yeah.
Alex asks, any unusual tips for invoking planetary energies or spirits? I'm not sure what you mean by unusual tips. You know what? Let me get my bird while I think that through. But Alex, what do you mean exactly by, what do you consider an unusual tip? Let me see what you're looking for to see if I got one or not. I might not, but let me see.
Just the tip. I hear her little tweet already. She's so tiny. Little birdie.
All right, I'm back. Let's see if she comes to me.
Little birdie.
There she is. Hello, sweetheart.
So freaking cute.
I love this bird. Hello, sweetheart. Hello. Just don't be too feisty. I'll have to put you away. Don't be too bitey, okay? Don't bite the wires. No bite the wires. No bite
Alex
the
the Kid
wires.
says that are not in the books.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't read all the books. It really, planetary stuff, gee, it really depends on how you look at things. I might not really have any unorthodox tips because I'm not sure what's orthodox when it comes to that. You know, planets are symbols of archetypes, generally speaking. You know, I mean, I would say that, you know, instead of seeing the planets themselves as something that does something, think of the planets as correspondences. And, you know, from there you can be as orthodox or unorthodox as you want. So it's kind of like the Jungian archetypes, and that's what the planets are. Like the 7 classical planets are seven of the archetypes that were most meaningful to people of the ancient world. And those archetypes, they can result in personifications, they can result in modalities of life and energy and things, and then you have the houses, of course, as well. Those are also archetypes. So it's kind of like, you know, it really depends on how you're looking at things. Are you talking about astrologically? Are you talking about just, so I don't really have a good answer for you, Alex. I really don't. I just don't. Planets, to me, I'm not super astrological. I use it. They do play a role, but it is not my main focus. I don't, you know, we live in a world now where the planets themselves are understood to be balls of gas and dirt. And that alone has done a great deal of influence on how modern magicians will think of them. But once upon a time, the planets were thought to be installed on celestial spheres themselves. So the planets themselves weren't the sphere. Like the little ball, the little dot in the sky wasn't the sphere. It was something embedded in the sphere that was symbolic of the sphere. That it was the aeon, if you will. It was the archetype that ruled that sphere. It was the ruler of the sphere. Okay. And, you know, today it's a ball of gas and dirt. And that is hard for some of us like myself to just go back to that. It's a sphere with a dot that's a ruler in it. It doesn't compute the same way in my head. So I prefer to work directly with the archetypal things themselves. Do I use the planets? Of course I do. You know, I will, if I see the planets in the sky, or if I'm doing a ritual that really needs to tap into that archetypal thing, I will face that direction. I will find it on a star finder if I can't see it, and I will face it in ritual, and I will try to channel that energy as light into things. Yes. Is it like the centerpiece? No. Saturn, is Saturn the same as Satan or Baal or different? I'm not superstitious or theistic enough to see it that way. Really, Satan is more like Mars in the wrathful sense, in the adversarial, wrathful, combative sense, but that depends on what Satan is to you. You know, what archetype are you getting at? Which archetype are you reaching for? If you're treating Satan as a literal living being, as a theistic living being, then you've got to figure out what archetype it represents to you. Saturn traditionally represents, you know, time, entropy, austerity, you know, certain forms of magic, death to a degree, you know, not death itself, but the march towards death, doom, you know, all of those kinds of things. You know, when Zeus or Jupiter or Marduk or whatever defeated Saturn in the old stories, it was a conquering of time. It was a conquering of limitation, of mortality. It was a conquering of the harvest. It was transcending the cycle. That's why Saturn is usually seen as the final boss in theurgistic travel between Earth to your divine self. So, you know, so you go through the planets sequentially, and Saturn is the last one. So, you know, whatever you want it to be, it can be. Whatever it's supposed to be. If you're really I wouldn't mix and match too much. If you really want to make Saturn Satan because it sounds the same, I think that's, no offense, ignorant, but you can do it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just think that that's like, it's a corruption of it. I don't think that's really how you should do it. That's me. You do you, but that's not me. I'm never going to do it that way. To me, Saturn is all those things I represented. It is not the demiurge. It is not the, you know, it's not, it is the symbol of the archetype of the old man on the verge of death. That is the master of the harvest, the master of time, the master of all of those kinds of things. And does that have to be, you know, does that have to be your view? No. A lot of people are caught up in pop culture stuff, and I mean even pop culture occultism, you know, fanfic of occultism. And there's nothing, I repeat, nothing wrong with that. Just recognize that that's what you're doing. Instead of trying to seek an objective truth that everybody's got to agree with. This is one of the things that's wrong with modern occultism, with all occultism, with all of this. It's all a form of dogma. You're trying to tell other people what they are, okay, which is fine if you're telling them this is what it is to me, or this is what the ancients believed. All of that is perfectly fine. But when you say it can only be this and nothing else, then you run into some trouble. Because it's not necessarily that way for everybody. You have to ask the question, why did they see Saturn as the old man of time and the harvest and all of those things? Why? Is it because it moves so slowly through the sky? Could that be it? It's so faint and moves so slowly compared to so many other planets? Could be. It could be. You know, there's a lot of research you can do there. And, you know, it really depends on where you're getting your information from. You know, Void's pointing out American culture really venerates Saturn. It's why we exchange rings at weddings and wear caps for graduation. You know, not untrue. You know, a lot of things are being said where they're like, oh, the New World Order is a Saturnian death cult and all this stuff. Look, Christians and people who don't know stuff sometimes learn stuff, and they put two and two together and they make correlations that may or may not be accurate. Is Saturn, you know, evil? Well, no, it's just part of the cycle of life. It is the death that becomes new life. Okay. So, you know, my advice, if this is really about connecting to spirits, like you're saying, Alex, then focus more on the archetypes that those spirits represent, and then find the planets that represent those archetypes and do it that way. Instead of trying to say, you know, Azazel is Saturn, for example, or Satan is Saturn, or Satan is Mars. Don't do that. That's not the way. Think of them like gateways. Think of them like gatekeepers. Think of them as representatives of that archetype that you can then use to associate better with the theistic thing you're trying to touch. If you're trying to connect to whatever you think Satan is, now to me, Satan's just a title. There's a lot of superstitious bupkis going on with Christianity and so on. You know, the ancient people called anything that was negative Satan, right? An adversary of life, of God, and so on. But then there's the belief that Satan was a deity that was demonized by Christians and so on. And then there's the question of, well, what deity was that before it became Satan? And a lot of people would say, well, it was Baal. It was Baal Hadad. Then, if that's what you're doing, then Baal is the spirit you're looking for. And then you've got to ask yourself, well, which Baal? Because there's thousands of Baals. Literally, because the ancient Sumerians had thousands of deities. They had a deity for everything. They had a deity for farts, for fuck's sake. Pretty sure. I don't know that for a fact, but it's just a good guess. Because they had deities for doorways. They had deities for everything. Okay? So you got to ask yourself, which Baal? Because Baal means Lord. So which Baal are we talking about? Well, when they said Baal, or Baal, right? That's another way it was eventually said. The Canaanites would have said Baal. Okay? They were talking about Lord. They were talking about a son of God, God being El. They all said El. Okay? El was God. El was the one. El was the supreme. El was the monad. El was the source. So Baal is like son of God, the son of the Lord, Baal. So they're all Baals, all Baals. And then there's Belets. There's Belet. That's the females. That's the ladies of the divine. So you have the Baals, the lords, and the Belets. The Belets or the Belets are the ladies of the Babylonian, Sumerian current. So for the ancients, Satan was most likely Baal, but Satan could also be Samael. And Samael does fit with Saturn. Absolutely. Although some would disagree, it definitely fits with Saturn, Samael, by comparison. Samael is the angel of death, the angel of judgment and so on. That is a lot of people's version of Satan is Samael, and there's nothing wrong with that. For other people, it's Shemyaza or Azazel. Who's Satan? Who's to say? Who's really to say? This is one reason why you don't see me talking about Satan very much, because to me, Satan is a title. It's an amalgamation. It is a corruption of something else.
I was going to say that Satan to me is almost like the stories of Ragnar, where it could be more than one person altogether, multiple stories. Who knows if the stories actually happened, if they were true or not.
And again, I'm reading people's comments, and it's like you're all talking about different cultural mythologies. None of them are objectively more true than the other. What you have to do, and this is where it takes artful study, you've got to do some study on comparative mythology and comparative religion, comparative mysticism. You've got to compare them all and see what they're pointing at. What they're pointing at is the noumenal truth that I keep talking about. What was I just talking about with the concept of flame and fire? What is the flame? It is a symbol for the noumenal reality of fire. What is Saturn? A symbol for the noumenal reality of whatever inspires us to see entropy and death and time. What is that exactly? Okay. Well, there is no word for it. There is no objective thing that it is, but there is an objective source for it. Think of it like a rainbow. How many of you guys, with a show of hands in the comments, how many of you guys think a rainbow exists in the sky? Do any of you think a rainbow exists in the sky? What is a rainbow? I'm going to give you a couple seconds. Put in the comments, just say yes or no. Does a rainbow exist in the sky?
I say no.
Okay, since most of you probably put your answers in. The answer is no. The rainbow does not exist in the sky. The source of the rainbow is happening in the sky, but the rainbow exists in your eyes and ultimately in your mind's eye. Every single one of us sees our own rainbow, because the rainbow that you see is not out there in the sky. It's a hologram taking place in your eye. We're not even talking about subjective consciousness yet. I'm just talking about the physics of it. Everybody sees their own rainbow because it is an interaction between your own eyeball and the way the light is refracting off of raindrops in the air, resulting in a refracted light source that looks like a rainbow only when it hits your eye and interacts with the processes of your eye. And then consciousness gets a hold of it, and then it turns into colors. So rainbows do not exist out in the sky. But all rainbows, your subjective rainbow and my subjective rainbow, are the product of an objective source. But that objective source looks nothing like a rainbow. Okay? It looks nothing like the rainbow. The objective source is ineffable and invisible in the way that you normally reify things. So what are we talking about? So remember before when I said that fire is a symbol for conversion, or conversion's a symbol of fire is really a kind of conversion and change. It is the thing that changes. It's the changing, the act of change. So what you have to do is you have to identify what Saturn and Satan and all these things are symbolizing. What divine essence are they symbols for? Because even if you're theistic about it, which you can be, there's ways to be theistic that aren't irrational, by the way. I consider myself I transcend theism versus atheism. I see them as literal beings that you can connect with, but I also see them as not that. Because I also understand that I am not that. I am an idea, and so are they. But we're ideas that represent something noumenal, something that is real, that is more real than these things that we call them. So what is it that we're talking about? Well, in order for us to all be talking about Satan in the correct sense, we've all got to agree what Satan means. This is why language is such a big part of magic. People say, Thorne, you're all caught up in semantics and you contradict yourself. No, it's that you don't study language enough. You need to study the meaning of words and the color of words, because you can't read the occult texts with a modern grasp of language in a lot of cases. You've got to understand what the words meant when they were written to have a better understanding of what they should mean now. We're talking about stuff that goes back 1,000, 1,500, sometimes 6,000, 7,000 years ago. Sometimes there's no way to really know what those words really meant to those people. For example, the word chaos. When you think of the word chaos, most people mean random or disorganized, or like an explosion that leaves chaos everywhere. Chaos, the original meaning of the word, meant gap, void, abyss, expanse, nothingness. And by nothingness, it didn't mean empty nothingness. It meant no hyphen thingness. It wasn't a thing yet. It was primordial. It was unformed clay, if you will. So the meaning of gap wasn't gap in the sense like there is literal nothingness there. It meant no thingness, a gap of thingness. And then thingness is found. The things are found in the gap. Things appear in the emptiness. Things manifest out of the dark. They're highlighted by the divine, by consciousness. So what is it that these words are highlighting when we say Satan or Saturn or Venus or Jupiter or Mars or Lucifer or Beelzebub or Baphomet? What are we highlighting with those words? Well, the secret is it's going to be different for everybody based on your culture. And that's unavoidable. However, there are archetypes. There are things which come before these words, which inspire these words. When we're using, so even though you might say that, so for example, a Christian and a Satanist, like a theistic Satanist, when a Christian says Satan, they're talking about something evil, they're talking about a bad guy, they're talking about somebody that they hate, somebody that does harm to people. When you say Satan, if you're a theistic Satanist, you might be talking about a good guy in your mind. The guy who's your real father and is in rebellion against this fake God, or however your story works for you. But you both, if I showed you something evil, you both would recognize it, wouldn't you? If I showed, most people, Satanists or Christians, if I showed you a pedophile, I don't think anybody here would sit there and go, oh yeah, that pedophile's good because Christians hate it, so therefore it's good because I'm a Satanist. Nobody's inverted like that. And if you are inverted like that, you're a fucking moron. That's some other kind of thing. That's a psychosis type of thing. So what are we talking about when we say Satan? Well, what does it mean to you? What is the archetype that it's really pointing at for you? Then work with that archetype and use whatever mask you want to stick on top of it. If you want to have that archetype look like a badass demon with swinging balls and is a freaking whatever, go for it. No judgment. If your idea of a good guy is this badass primordial demon that's in rebellion against a fake, usurper god or whatever the fuck it is to you, that's fine. Just get your archetypes keyed in so you know what you're talking about. Because otherwise you're dealing with dogma and theism, and that shit's toxic and destructive to your practice. I see this all the fucking time. It's where all the gatekeeping comes from. It's where all the toxic bullshit happens in the occult community. It's my Satan has red skin. Well, my Satan has blue skin. You didn't see the real Satan. And then you get a fucking theistic war on your hands. And it's fucking stupid. And then you get these charlatan occultists that will come out and say, well, King Paimon's crown has 13 tines. And if you see one with 10, that's not the real Paimon. And they'll build up their little clique of fucking worshipers around them. And that's how you idiots, and I don't mean this, I'm just ranting. That's how idiots, and I mean you in the sense, whoever might be listening, shaking your head going, no, Thorne, he really only has 13. You idiots who believe this stuff, you're just giving your energy to these charlatans who are lying to you. They've decided to make some shit up and then turn that into the reality so that you are a slave to what they tell you is real. You're dumb. In short, you're stupid. So transcend all of that stupidity. Transcend that stupidity right the fuck now. Shit, maybe I'm channeling Satan right now. I'm being a little adversarial, aren't I? Transcend that fucking stupidity and look for the archetypes below. Look for the enigmas that inspire this bullshit. Then that bullshit can become useful. Until then, this bullshit is just a trap. It's just an ego trap and you're fucked. And I don't have any sympathy for you. This is why I tend to, when people start asking me questions that sound a little superstitious and theistic, I tend to get a little, not miffed, but that's the closest word I could use. I sound a little miffed because it's like I spent my life getting away from that in the form of Christianity and all of this other superstitious dogmatic bullshit. When you start to recognize the archetypes, and archetypes is just another word, it means modality. When you recognize the modalities in the way the divine manifests, that divine is universal. Everything is that divine. There's no good divine and bad divine. There's just the divine. There is no good or evil in the divine. It's just all the divine. When you recognize that all of these are ways for the divine to manifest, modalities for the manifestation of divinity in mortal experience, a fucking bell rings and a whistle goes off and the whole world turns weird and you get it. It clicks and now you're locked in and you can't get out of it then. You're locked into reality, to the noumenal truth. You get it. From that point forward, everything you do in magic is going to be magical. It's going to be magical at that point. It's not just a stupid practice. It's not just bibbity bobbity boo in a dark room. It has real deep meaning. So you can see Satan however you want, but here's the idiocy of it. You're all doing it. I'm saying, I don't mean this to be too general. I'm saying most people are egoistically seeing Satan. They see their Satan and they want to objectify that as real for everybody. And this is where they fall into a pit. They're not looking for the archetype. They're not looking for the thing, the noumenal enigma that inspires that Satan image. They are trying to make their image reality, and this is why they're suffering. They're not content with having a view of reality. They want everybody to dwell in it because then their ego is reinforced. And there's nothing wrong with ego, but ego can be toxic. This is a toxic example of ego. When ego is not being toxic, it's not trying to force itself. It is in alignment with what is. It is not trying to make what is be the ego's idea. All right, I'm going to put away little chirp head over here because she wants to, she's looking to get out the window. Come here, little stupid. I'll be back. Entertain everybody, Camilla.
Give her another paper towel. Oh boy, entertainment time, huh? Yeah. Any questions? Let's see. Alistar, the NP demon. You know what? Holy crud. My demon worship was better before I started asking other people about how these demons are supposed to be. Thanks for the wake-up call, Satan. Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with that.
With what? What happened?
Alistar, the NP demon. It was saying that his worship was better before he started asking other people about how they're supposed to be.
Oh, for sure. That's why I tell people, when you're researching a demon to work with, limit yourself.
Yeah.
Focus on what's said in the grimoires. You can watch my videos because I'm very careful to just give you one story and a little bit of info and let you do the rest.
It's one thing to use the sigils and everything. It's another to say, Lilith only comes through in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And the color thing, it's like, I like the color thing because it gets me in the mood and helps me feel a connection. But I don't feel like it has to be like yellow for Vine. I don't feel like it has to be blue for Lucifer. Remember that one person got really pissed that you used the wrong color for his sigil?
Yeah, yep. You're insulting him because, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nah.
Give me 1 second.
It's like when you get items for the ritual itself, you make it your own.
Yep.
And if you come up with a different sigil through your workings, and that's your fucking sigil for this being.
Okay. Just looking something up real quick. Jilligan asks, my spells aren't working. Any ideas? I'm totally blocked. Oof. They probably are working. You're just not, you're treating it too much like a vending machine and not a revelatory method. Now everyone's a little different. Again, I don't mean to disrespect those that see it as a machine. I just think that they're wrong. I think they're very wrong. And I think they're objectively wrong because they can't prove it. People who say, like, I can do a spell and make anything I want happen. Okay, you know, enjoy your mom's basement. I get what you're saying. You think you're a powerful person, but you have literally nothing to show for it. If I tell you to prove it, you can't, and so on. So you can believe that, right? But it's not my job to live in your delusion any more than I'm demanding that you live in mine, all right? So that's number one. Magic, I don't care what the pop culture belief is, the Harry Potter belief is. Magic is not something that causes things to happen in the sense that it's like a tool like any other tool that stupid apes use, okay? It is not another hammer. It is not a vending machine. Stop using it that way. That doesn't mean that your spells won't align with the results. It means that stop thinking of it as a system of cause and effect. Get that out of your head. Now treat magic as something a little different. Treat magic as a revelatory tool. This is why in Become the Maelstrom, I said that when a magician or a sorcerer or whatever you like to call yourself is successful, they will not be able to determine whether they caused it or predicted it. Why did I say that? Magic always results through synchronicities, not through cause and effect. This is an established principle by most modern successful occultists. Does that mean that you won't do a ritual for XYZ and not get XYZ? Absolutely not. What it means is if you get XYZ and you did a ritual for XYZ, it's because, not because you did the ritual right. It has nothing to do with how you did the fucking ritual. I've done rituals literally by pissing in a toilet in a clockwise manner. I'm not kidding. Why would that work? There's literally nothing that would make that work. There's no symbolism there that would make it work. There's a bunch of occultists be like, oh, that's because you engaged with the elemental water and injected your... But you'd fucking jump through a million fucking hoops to decide why that would work. No, it worked because in the moment when I did it, I was connected with the divine. My intention, meaning my egoic desires, aligned with the will of the divine in that moment. I didn't cause me, the little me, cause anything to happen. What I did was I leapt paradigms. I jumped between a reality that wasn't going the way that I wanted, and I landed in one that went the way I wanted. I didn't cause anything to change. I revealed the universe that I am going to be in. This sounds like mystical mumbo jumbo, but is literally the source of all of this. The people who are sitting around going, I'm gonna cause you to lose your teeth because I'm gonna do a curse on you. I just laugh at them. I laugh. Hit me with your best shot, big boy. How many times have you seen this? Other occultists online do this. Right? They'll be being attacked by people and they'll be like, I'm still here. I'm not destroyed. Your curses aren't working. Ha ha. They all do that. And then they all front like, see how powerful I am? Dude, it's not how this works. It's not how any of this fucking works. You are the one that shifts, not the world around you. The world around you may look different because you moved. If you do a ritual for a person to lose their teeth, you may see that. But all that means is you went into the timeline of the multiverse where that happened. That doesn't mean that you did it to them. This is a very difficult thing for people to realize. Now you'll say, well, Thorne, how come I'm not moving to the universe I want to go to? That's a better question. Why aren't you? We're really getting down to it here, Gilligan. We really are, because the real issue here is not your magic. It's not your rituals. It's none of that. It's an expectation, and that expectation is rooted in one mistake, and one mistake only, that we all make. I make it. Everyone makes it. It's part of being mortal. That mistake is egoism. Now, ego is not bad. There's nothing wrong with having a sense of self and identity and an individuality. In fact, it is a known thing in all non-dual circles and everywhere that's really legitimate that we are meant to celebrate the diversity of the variety of the divine itself. The divine is all things. You're supposed to go, that is a beautiful fucking lighter, and be like, this lighter is special from that lighter. You're supposed to have that feeling. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm beautiful, I'm special, I'm great. Nothing wrong with that. So long as you don't lord it over the rest of the universe saying, I am higher than you. That's when you're falling. That's when you're egoing. But that's not just ego. That's one symptom of ego. Ego is a self-mindedness as opposed to a totality or divine-mindedness. So when you're thinking egoistically, you're thinking like, I am changing the world. I must change what I'm doing. I. Me, I. Instead of saying, what is the will of the divine working through me going to be? If you want your magic to work, you need to do a couple of big things, and you need to do them consistently. You need to transcend toxic ego. Not kill your ego, not get rid of your ego, not be egoless. That's not quite what I mean. You need to transcend the toxicity of ego so that you can be a purified, aligned ego. You can be a sense of self in the middle of a sea of other without seeing that other as not you. That's a hard one. That's the hardest step. You need to recognize that you are what has to move, what you have to change, not the world. And Alpha just said change oneself is the correct way. Yes, in a manner of speaking, yes, exactly what I'm saying. But the self includes the world. You just have to see it all as the same. You have to change your perspective. Like when you're reading a choose your own adventure, how do you choose the story, right? If you just turn to the next page, you're not choosing the adventure. If you're reading the book and it says go to page 248 and you're on page 100 and you go to page 101, you didn't choose it. You waited for the universe to do it for you. That's not how it works. So you've got to transcend this egoic thinking. That's number one. Now in ritual, what does this mean in ritual magic or even spellcraft if you're doing simple spells? This means you need to enter an egoless state or a non-ego state or a transcending ego state or a hand of God. So there's so many different words for it, but you need to let go of the sense of a limited self, and you need to transcend that and do your rituals from a perspective of the divine is about to shift its attention from the reality that I see to the one I need to see. Remember the word need, not want. Want, what is desire? What is want? Want and desire is the conflict between what is and what you think it should be. That's what want is. You don't have faith in the world to be what it's supposed to be. You don't, and you only think that because of an ego problem. You say, it shouldn't be this way, and that's why you suffer. Because you don't realize that everything that's happening is the will of the divine, as the whole thing. I know it's like, sounds like I'm saying God's will, doesn't it? And people who are like hardcore tribalistic Satanists go, well, that's not how it should be. I'm going to go off into total me land and I'm going to make my own universe where it's my will. It already is, Dick. It already is. And you're suffering because you don't realize that. That's why you're suffering. You don't realize that the reason you chopped your little finger off in the sawmill accident is because you needed to. You wanted to. That was the adventure you needed to see. And it's not really you that chopped their finger off. When you dream that you lose your hand, did you really lose your hand? No. Of course not. Does it still hurt? You bet your ass. Does it still suck? You bet your ass. But do you have to suffer it? No. When you're playing a video game and fucking Link gets fucking killed by Ganon and you have to reload a save, does that suck? Yes. Does it hurt you? No. You are that. You are that which cannot be harmed. Your consciousness of the divine. You're the divine itself. You can't be hurt. You've never been born. You'll never die. You were never created. You'll never be destroyed. You're eternal, timeless, and infinite, and nothing can happen to that. But the glove it's wearing, the mask it's wearing, that shit can get cracked, broken, and thrown on the ground and stomped on. But it doesn't hurt you. So how do you change? How do you get your magic to work? So for the mundane person, for the person who hasn't transcended ego, which is pretty much everybody, to be clear, when I'm saying you got to transcend your ego, like, oh, like, does that mean that I've done it? I can do it on occasion. Does that mean I do it all the time? No, right now I'm very egoistic and I'm not ashamed of it. That's the difference between me and most New Agers and Love and Lighters. I'm not ashamed of being a little egoistic. Because if you're ashamed of it, that just makes it worse. You want to know the number one way to be egoistic? Try not to be. Holy fuck, will you become the most egoistic person on the face of the planet. Some fucking super highfalutin tootin' humorless motherfucker that is constantly blasting how fucking humble they are into the world and judging everybody who's not. Holy fuck, you're a complete asshole. That's like the most egoistic thing I can imagine. No, be comfortable in your own skin. That's the best way to get rid of your ego. And what does that mean? Getting rid of your ego. It means getting rid of the conflict between ego and the divine. When ego is a mask for the divine, when ego becomes a hand of God instead of trying to conflict with God, when you realize you are God incarnate in this body, and that's what this is, that you're meant to carry out the divine will, not in submission to some external deity. You are the deity, ultimately. So, how do you do that? Patience, grasshopper, patience, because more often than not, when you do a magic ritual and it doesn't appear to work, one of two, maybe three things is happening. One, you haven't given it enough time. That's a possibility, unless it's a very time-sensitive issue. Maybe you didn't give it enough time. Some of the work that I did 2 years ago are only starting to manifest, obviously, now. And it broke me. waiting, because these were very big things. One of the reasons that I've sort of fallen by the wayside with my practice is because I lost a little bit of conviction, because I'm like, wow, for a minute there, things were manifesting like instantly. And then this one didn't. And it's been a fucking hard road. Then I realized, well, of course it's been a hard road. You had a lot to learn. They don't manifest because you want them to. They manifest because you are going to see them or not. So you need a little patience. You need to give them time to happen. Let's say it's something that there is no time for it to happen. Then you have to ask yourself, well, magic is not a system of cause and effect. It is not a better hammer. It is not a better vending machine. It is not a genie that grants fucking wishes. Get that out of your head. And if that bothers you to hear that, magic is not for you. This practice shouldn't be a fucking costume or a LARP. Be real or don't do it. And people are going to say, Thorne, you sound like you're LARPing. You say it doesn't cause change. No, you're LARPing when you think it causes change, because that's what Hollywood tells you it does. Hollywood says it's fireballs and spirits coming out of your closet and taking your children into the abyss and all kinds of crazy shit that doesn't fucking happen. I'm not saying poltergeists don't happen. I'm not saying supernatural things don't happen. I'm saying that's not what magic is. Magic is not that. Magic is not those outcomes. Indeed, Alexander, of course, magic doesn't usually show up till you do forget about it a little bit. You have to let go. Why do they say magic doesn't happen till you stop thinking about it? Because you're being egoistic if you're still thinking about it.
You have to detach a little bit.
You have to detach. You have to be non-attached egoistically. You have to let go of the outcome completely. You have to not care.
Forget you did it.
Forget you did it and don't care if it works. If you care that it works, it's not going to work. And if it does work, it still didn't work. What does that mean, Thorne? How could that be? It worked, so it worked. Yeah, but you missed the boat. You missed the point. The point was to let go. The point was to throw this into the abyss and let it be. To trust that you are the divine and that it will be what it will be, because that's what it's going to be. Not for the better, not for the worse, not for your happiness, not for your sadness, not even to teach you something, but to make the most wild possible adventure possible. That's it. This entire existence is the divine living a mortal life so it can have the most sadomasochistic, wild, joyous, orgiastic time of its life. And if you sit around being a frumpy person that's unhappy because you're not getting what you want, that's part of the show too. So what is the meaning of magic and sorcery? Why do we do it? Do we do it to affect outcomes? The modern occultist says yes, but they're wrong. In my mind, they're wrong, because number one, if that's what it was for, over the thousands of years that people would be practicing it, we would have developed a system that would have worked foolproofly for everybody, and we would have millionaires everywhere. I can't name one single occultist walking on this planet that is actually capable of that. No, not even EA. That is not what causes outcomes. Magic doesn't. I know I'm going to get hate mail for that, and I always do. But whenever I do, I get it from somebody living in their mother's basement. Their reason for wanting that to be the truth is because they're desperate. They haven't transcended their bullshit yet. Does that mean you can't have crazy shit happen? Of course you can. Does that mean that when I did a ritual to release a book, mysterious and miraculous synchronicity didn't happen? Of course it did. That was a good one. But I've also done rituals where it's like, and it didn't matter that it didn't come true, because I got something else, or I realized something. There was a synchronicity in which I clicked and I said, I get it. I get it. That's why that happened that way. Okay, I'm fine with that outcome. Am I going to brag about it on YouTube and say my magic worked then? No, because I can't prove it to you. Magic can't be proven. It's a subjective realization. Every time you get a good manifestation, why do you think magicians say manifestation, not cause and effect? Is it just because we're trying to sound really elegant? You can have some guy literally sitting there with a fucking Budweiser can, I manifested this fucking house out of my own ass. Like, you know, why are they saying manifest? There's a reason we say manifest, guys. Go look up what the word manifestation means and put it in the comments. Go look that shit up. It's the most important word in magic. What does it mean to manifest something? Does manifesting something create it? Does it cause it? Or does it reveal it? It reveals something. Magic manifests your higher intention, your higher will. It manifests the divine will. It's in plain English. Look it up. It doesn't mean it causes your divine will. It manifests your will. What does that mean? Look it up. Sorry, I'm kind of ranting, but I'm having fun doing it. I hope you guys are enjoying it. What's up, Al? I didn't see you here. $4.99. Thank you, brother. Woo! Al the Alchemist. We got to get you back on, brother. It's been a while.
Absolutely. I noticed we have someone in the chat completely off topic talking about I, Tanya.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it has something to do with magic. I don't know. Nikki's been a regular, so they're probably not completely off.
I saw it. I haven't seen anything magical in it. I don't know.
I never even heard. I don't want to talk about I, Tanya. Let's stay on topic, guys. Stay on topic. I don't know what I, Tanya is.
Tanya Harding movie.
Oh.
Biography.
Whatever. That came from my generation, boy. That was a big... Hey, why are we talking about this? Let's go back to magic.
No, that's what I was saying. I think we should keep the chat on topic is what I'm saying.
Oh, let them chat about whatever they want. They can chat about fucking your favorite flavor hot dog for all I care. So manifestation is, as a word, it means to reveal. Okay? That's what it means. What is it revealing? It's revealing your intention. It's revealing the divine will. It's revealing your will to reveal or show. Yes, Alex the Kid, to reveal or show. What about that has anything to do with making shit happen? That's why I say you have an ego problem. Not because you're bad or because ego's bad. You have an ego issue. You think that magic is there to cause shit to happen. Magic is there to reveal the will of the divine. Nothing more, nothing less. That's all it does. If it is not the will of the divine for you to get this thing that you want, then that's revealed, isn't it? Does it not reveal the divine will for you not to get what you want? Because what you want is not synonymous with what you will. How many of you guys do things that you don't want to do, but you know it was still your will behind it? Doesn't that happen all the time? Happens to me all the time. For example, oh, I want to get out in the shop today and do something productive. But what was my will? I didn't have the will to do it. People think will is like a battery or an energy source. No, will is what you do. Will is what you do. You can only do will, period. Desire has nothing to do with will. Choice has nothing to do with will. Will is what you do. Will is what is done. Will is what happens. Will is what is revealed. Will is what manifests, period. It is not a choice. It is not an A or B. It's always going to be A or always going to be B. It's not either or. Will is causality. Will is deterministic. But ego doesn't like to hear that because ego says, I want to have a choice. Well, ego has no choice. The divine does what it wills. And ego's just along for the ride to say, I like that or I don't. That's it. That's all it does. When ego is in alignment with will, there is bliss. When ego is out of alignment with will, there's suffering. When your desires aren't aligned with will, what happens? You're disappointed. Unless you've transcended ego enough to look at that outcome, that manifestation, and roll with it and say, ah, that's my divine will happening. Is it just a head game? For some people, that's all it is. For some people, what I'm describing is just psychology. Well, psychology and magic are the same thing in a lot of ways. The word psyche meant spirit once upon a time, and it still does to a lot of people. Why do you think we have parapsychology? Why do you think that psychologists are one of the few branches of the sciences? Because it's kind of a pseudoscience, to be brutally honest with you. Psychology, why do you think it's one of the few respected fields of sort of scientific shit that is still willing to even look at spirituality and magic at all through an objective lens. Physics won't touch that shit because they know you can't make shit levitate by singing at it. Not physically like that. No, I'm not saying you can't use sound waves to levitate shit. I'm not saying that there isn't some weird, spooky, alternate universe where that works and maybe we can go there. I'm not even saying that. I'm saying that here and now in this reality, I know for a fact that the reality that my ego and your ego and everybody who's listening to me, your egos are all centered in a reality where I can't just shout, go up, go into the sky, bibbity bobbity boo. I can't do that. Does that mean it can't be done? I didn't say that. I said here and now in this paradigm of reality, it doesn't happen. And nothing you bitch and moan about will make it do that. You want to transcend that reality, you've got to let go of this one. You've got to let go of who you are. Because in that reality where you can go bibbity bobbity boo and make shit float, you're not going to be who you are. Something's going to be different. So why is it so important to transcend ego? Because in order to shift paradigms through the multiverse, to shift into different timelines, shall we say, you've got to let go of who you are. You've got to let go of those attachments. You've got to transcend self, and you've got to be able to jump. And that jump can't be too far for most people. I know I can't jump that far. I'm sure there's like Looney Tunes people who can jump all the way into a completely different universe. Absolutely. They can jump into a universe where they can fly off of roofs. I have no doubt about it in my mind. I just can't do it myself because I am rationally attached. Because here's the thing. Some level of rationality is required because madness is a form of suffering. People say, oh, well, then I'm just going to go crazy and believe anything. No. If you believe anything, that's madness. That causes suffering. That is a source of suffering. Madness is a kind of suffering. Being rational, but being open. Being open-minded, but rational. That leads to alignment. That leads to having a clear mind that's capable of true discernment. If you're just nuts, you don't have discernment. If you have a rational but clear open mind, you can have clear discernment. That leads to alignment, transcendence, bliss, and then you won't care what fucking universe you land in as much. You may prefer, remember, preference and desire, they sound the same, but there is a slight difference. There is a meaningful difference. I prefer this. But that doesn't mean that it has to be that way. Desire says it has to be this way or I suffer. See the difference? It's like when my wife and I are trying to decide on dinner. I would prefer hamburgers. I would prefer hot dogs. Oh, but you know what? Either one is fine. I want hamburgers. I want hot dogs. Well, we can't have hamburgers. Well, fuck you then. See the difference? Alpha Draconian says, true will. Thank you. You're welcome for the true will. Yeah, true will. And true will is kind of an oxymoron. It's all will. There is no false will. False will is desire. That's the false will. True will has nothing to do with your desires. Cat Eva asks, what do Thelemites mean when they say true will? I'm not sure. I'm not a Thelemite. Maybe they mean what I'm describing. Maybe they mean something like what I'm describing. They might be. True will is the divine will, and the divine will is your will, and your will is the divine will. The problem is that with an ego, you don't think that. You think that your ego's desires are your will. You've been taught wrong. Your whole life, you've been taught that ego and its desires are will. That's not what will means. I don't care what any other occultist, you have to want it and believe it bad enough. Okay, enjoy your mom's basement, because that's still where you're going to stay. You're not going to desire yourself out of any situation. Doesn't work. You know, like they say, wish in one hand and work and shit in the other. Okay? That's actually a metaphor. Will is the shit. Wish is the desire. You can desire all day long, but if you don't do the shitty work, if you don't do the action, nothing happens. And if you can't will yourself to do the action, it's not going to happen. So are crazy people doomed to suffer on Earth? I mean, no. Well, the word crazy is subjective. Okay. What do you mean by crazy? Do I just mean out of touch with what other people believe? That's what most people think of as crazy. When I say madness, I don't mean crazy. I mean madness. I mean a total disconnect from your own experiences. So, for example, I would consider somebody mad, someone who is sitting there going, burning themselves to death, going, this is not burning. Okay. It's a total denial of experience. It's like having such an open mind that your brain falls out. I know those are like metaphors, but everybody knows what I mean by that. Madness causes suffering because all forms. So think of it this way. You believing that you're this person is a form of madness. Did you know that? If you look at most Enlightenment ontologies like Buddhism and Advaita Vedanta and Neoplatonism, all of these Enlightenment ontologies teach you that this idea that this is what you are and only this is a form of madness that the divine is undergoing. That is madness. Madness is a disbelief in what you truly are. To someone who is really crazy, I sound crazy. To someone who really believes, oh, I'm just a person, I'm just a brain in a skull, that's all I am. That's insane. To them, it's rational because it's what they can prove. But they can't prove that. They think they can prove that. None of you on this planet, there isn't a single person in this world that can prove that they are in their brain, are their brain, or a product of their brain. All they can prove to me is that if you destroy the brain, you lose access to whatever that is. That's all you can prove. If I smash a radio, I don't destroy the radio station. If I smash your brain, how do I know I'm really destroying you? So that's the madness. The madness is I am this and not anything else. That's the insanity. That's the madness that I'm talking about, really. I'm not talking about someone with a little bit of neurodivergency. I'm not talking about that specifically. I'm talking about the mortality delusion, the egoistic mortal delusion. The more crazy you are with egoistic shit, the more mad you are, the more you are, because superstition is a form of egoism. People don't realize that. Superstition is a form of dogma. Dogma is always a function of egoism. Dogma says, I know this, I know this, I know this to be true, and that's what this is.
Real quick, I see an EA quitting in the chat. No idea who that is.
Yeah, some guy. Fucking jerk. We need to talk, dude. I miss you, man. He says, hi, I'm about to jump on the console. I don't know what that means. That's how you were... Oh, probably the...
It was consult.
Oh, on a console. Yes. Okay. That's how you were... And I saw that's how you're having an emergency podcast. No, this is just a day walk. Did I put emergency? I don't think I did. I thought I'd drop in for a minute. Love you. Hey, brother. Listen, we miss you, man. If you can get out here to Newark on the 30th, do it. Of course, awesome. That would be... He'd end up being like the star of the show. I would just end up being like an orbiting cloud. But it'd be cool to see you,
That'd
dude.
Be cool, though.
It would be cool to see him and meet him and everything. That'd be cool. I hope you're doing well, brother. I see Zarafina's more active on my wall and stuff. And I got to hang out with you guys again. I miss you guys.
Absolutely. So, maybe a movie day or something.
Yeah, we haven't done a movie in a long time. Let's do a fucking movie again. Maybe we should do a movie night like we used to do with Fleshy. We could do a movie night soon and just have everybody. Like, that would be cool as shit. But,
yeah.
So I hope you're doing well, brother. Thanks for popping in, and I hope you're doing well. But yeah. Alistair says, I'm still maddeningly terrified of dying. I mean, I'm not saying it's something to go, woohoo, I can't wait, but are you afraid of going to sleep tonight? If you're not afraid of going to sleep tonight, don't be afraid of dying. You might be afraid of dying, but don't be afraid of death. The dying experience may suck, but death itself, I don't care whether you believe in an afterlife or you don't. There's nothing to be afraid of with death. Nothing at all. It's no different than when you go to sleep tonight. You just may lose and forget who you are. That's all. I know that sounds shitty, but it only sounds shitty if you're highly egoistic. Doesn't mean it won't suck at all. I'm just saying that an egoistic person can't let go of themselves at all. A person who's transcended ego recognizes that there is a self that they can identify with, but they know they're not that. And if that thing gets destroyed and shut down, they will go on and continue. Does that mean that that knowing that is enough? No. I know that, and there's days that I still suffer egoistically for sure. That there are people out there that have completely transcended ego forever. Is that a thing you need to do? No, it's not. When people put it like, you know, these Buddhists and stuff, when they frame it as if it is some kind of life goal that you're supposed to achieve nirvana or some shit, that's a trick that they're playing on you. The higher end masters know this. They know that this is a game that they're playing. So long as you seek nirvana, you will never fucking find it. Ever. I promise. I promise. That is lurking within all of the best books, all of the best teachings, all of the greatest masters will tell you. So long as you seek nirvana, you will never find it. Ever. If your goal is enlightenment, you will never achieve it. It is both a play on words and a promise. It's a play on words because enlightenment is there is no one to be enlightened. Doesn't mean that there's no such thing as soul, or that there's no such thing. There has to be something to be liberated for sure. But there's no one that is enlightened. No person is enlightened. No individual human being experiences enlightenment. Doesn't happen that way. Enlightenment is... End of sentence. Enlightenment is. So long as you go out there seeking enlightenment, seeking nirvana, seeking all of these things, seeking eternal life, it will never happen.
It's one of those things you gotta let go.
And it's, yes, and you do have to let go, but what happens if you let go on purpose? Aren't you still seeking? I'm still seeking. I guess I'm not going to be enlightened then. So even if you let go on purpose, you let go on purpose, didn't you? Why'd you let go, you shady little fuck? Because I'm trying to be enlightened anyway. Ah, yeah. There you go. That's your shadow talking. By the way, if you listen to your shadow, that's what it's going to say. If someone's like, oh, well, I'm going to transcend my ego and I'm going to let go. I'm going to let go. Okay, can you do that without doing it on purpose? What do you mean? Can you let go without doing it for the purpose of being enlightened? Can you do that? Yeah, exactly. So this is what they do. They tell you, here's enlightenment, and you've got to do this thing. You got to sit in front of a wall going, and you really got to get to the heart of yourself, and you got to do all these practices. And maybe if you do that for enough years or enough lifetimes, then enlightenment will happen to you. But the truth is, enlightenment has nothing to do with any of that. That's just something that they get you to do on the side. That's a distraction. That's a bunch of jangly keys in front of a little kid so they shut up for a minute. You can't enlighten yourself. You can't make yourself enlightened. Enlightenment is the opposite of doing it on purpose. Enlightenment will happen only when it's time. And it may not linger forever. You may have a moment of enlightenment, and then you come right back to this life and go, yeah, that was cool, but... And there's nothing wrong with it. So long as you're out there going, I must be enlightened, that is an egoistic statement, and the ego cannot be enlightened. Doesn't work. So why do all those people sit there going, are these Buddhist temples lying to them? No. Actually, they do generally reveal this to them quite early on. And they say, but because you live in a world that's so painful, and we have that, you enjoy these practices and so on, and they'll teach these practices because there's other benefits to doing all the work. So you might as well enjoy it. You might as well do it. And if you want to live a life of asceticism and piety and all this other stuff, ironically, a lot of these Buddhist temples are gilded fucking mansions anyway. So you'll be sitting there in this gilded mansion, but you live in a little closet and you got a bowl. But you're living in the lap of luxury in a lot of ways. Not many of them, unless you go to India, then you get the guys who are like, you know, they sleep on gravel and shit. Then you get the real ascetics. And they only do that for a selfish reason, if you really think about it. Why are they sleeping on gravel? To make pleasures better, really. To get used to discomfort. to transcend the body. Why? Because they're looking for bliss. They're still trying to get the goodie. They're still trying to grab the peach. They're still jumping, trying to grab it. They're still doing it. One of the greatest metaphors ever is the story of the monkey with the jar, and usually it's like a peach or an apple in the bottom. And you hand a monkey a jar that's just got a hole big enough for its hand to slide in, but it's too small for a fist to come out of, especially a fist holding anything. So the typical monkey, they'll reach into that jar and they'll grab the peach at the bottom of it. And they'll grab that peach and they'll try to yank it out, and it can't get it out. Eventually that peach gets crushed and destroyed and they can't eat it. The best they can do is lick it off their fingers. They get a taste of it. They'll get a taste of the peach, but they'll never get the peach itself. But the enlightened person lets go of that peach, turns the whole fucking jar upside down, and lets the enlightenment just pour out. They let go. You have to let go of the peach to get it out. But you can't do it on purpose because that's still holding on. Alpha Draconian says, namaste. True, just let it go. Exactly. Exactly. But you can't do it on purpose. So how do you let go without doing it on purpose? Distract yourself. Do something else. Do magic rituals. Whew, gonna sneeze. Might get a bloody nose too.
No.
Yeah. Do something else. Do you think that you become enlightened by meditating? Put your hand in the air if you think that meditation causes you to become enlightened. You're going to be there a long time. You're overthinking it, Wyatt. The metaphor is it's meant to be a metaphor, dude. But yes, you could break the jar. That would be really letting go. Maybe breaking the jar breaks the peach too. It's a very very fragile peach.
Who wants to eat a peach with glass stuck in it?
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to put it. Don't overthink the metaphor, dude. But that's the same thing. That's the same thing. Gilligan says, I'm confused though. Well, that's why this is a lifelong process, isn't it? Here's the thing, when you do the other stuff, you find moments of enlightenment without even looking for them. Go for a nice drive or a nice bike ride down a hill. Not too steep a hill, just take a nice twisty road in your car and just go ride down that twisty road and just lose yourself in the road. And when you're doing that twisty road driving, while your mind's not on anything and you're just enjoying it, guess what? You just found enlightenment. Bingo, that's it, done. Wait a minute, that's it? Yes, that's it. That doesn't sound like enlightenment. There you go. Now you're not enlightened anymore. See, you just caused yourself a problem. Enlightenment's real simple. That's why it's so fucking hard. Good question, Gilligan. Why bother doing spells or rituals in the first place? Why indeed? Or why are you doing them? Do you have to? No, you don't have to. You're living in an egoistic state. That's why you're saying, if all I'm going to do is accept whatever comes my way. Yeah. If that's not the answer you're seeking, keep seeking, dude. Or female, or whatever. Dudette, yeah. Keep playing the game. It's not a judgment. I'm just telling you what it's going to be. You can beat your head against that wall, and you may even convince yourself in a few years, if you work hard enough, that you can make anything you want happen. What you don't realize is that by doing those practices, so let's tack this from another direction. Why should you do rituals? Because rituals and things allow you a space to contemplate. They allow you a space to align yourself with the divine itself. So I'm talking about the difference between the beginner and the end. So I'm coming at this from a more end point. I've already transcended the ritual shit. I still do them, but I don't need them. So why do I do them? Because ritualism allows me to transcend the mindfulness that gets me into so much trouble. I distract myself by doing rituals. This allows me to enter into a state where I am aligned with the divine will, and I let go, and then I might realize the truth. It has nothing to do with causing anything to happen. You don't need to do the rituals at all. Nobody does, not even the beginner. This is why I said, not as a joke, I've done magic by literally pissing into a toilet bowl in a clockwise direction. How the fuck is that a ritual? Someone's gonna say, well, it's a ritual because it's, no, it's not. I was literally just fucking going with the flow at the time. Literally. It's not just a joke. It's literally the truth. I was going, this is what's gonna happen. Bammo. How's that a fucking magic ritual? It's not. So why do any of this? Well, again, go talk to the people who really know, and they'll tell you that all of this is a floor show. The real masters, they think and things happen. They don't need to do the rituals. It's not just that because Thorne's the master. I'm not putting it like that. I'm saying that that is a well-known truth. The masters don't need the rituals anymore. They think and it appears. How is that possible if it's all about the rituals? It's not about the rituals. What's the difference between reading a book and thinking about it? You know? Isn't it more fun to read the book than just remember it? Why do you reread a book? Why do you do a ritual? Same thing. It's a way to celebrate and engage with the thing that's already going to happen. No offense, Jilligan, because I don't mean it this way, but it sounds like you're not ready for that truth yet. It sounds like you're attached to the cause and effect style of magic. If that's where you're at, that's a step we all go through. I went through it and it hurt to let go of it. When I was younger, that was the step I was on. I love you, Jilligan. Jilligan says, yeah, but. Trust me, I'm not judging you. I hope you know, okay? I mean this with love. I really do. And I'm not trying to force my ideas into your head. But I will say this. You sound like your mind's already made up. You're already dogmatic about it. And that means you've got to go through it until you prove it or disprove it. And what I'm telling you is where I ended up going through that. My magic is not about getting out of mom's basement or getting the things that I want. My magic is about transcending the duality of ego. I do spells for things that I want, not because I think it causes it, but because I look forward to the synchronistic miracle that's going to happen where it does come true. And when it doesn't come true, I look for the life lesson, I look for the wisdom, I look for the true divine will, and I accept that. Listen, whether you accept it or not, that's what's going to happen. And Jilligan, we were all new once. So you're cool. You says, I'm new and I'm trying to learn. You're doing the right thing. Again, anything that I say that seems like I talk down, that's meant to be a challenge. Okay. It's not meant to be an insult. Maybe I'm from a different generation, or maybe it's just because I'm an asshole, but however you want to rationalize it, one form of teaching is to be an asshole, a challenging asshole that the student has to overcome. A lot of people say, that's Belial, by the way. A lot of people said, you're a lot like Belial. Okay. I don't work with him that much, but I get it. A good teacher is going to challenge you somehow. Some teachers will challenge you by being nice to you and just saying, do better or something. Some teachers say, beat me, motherfucker. Prove me wrong. Or prove me right. Either way, prove it. That's a pretty good teacher, too. Nikki said it very well. I'm kind of tired, so I didn't have the language. She just said it very well. Do rituals, but do them playfully and artistically expressive. Play is the best and most fun way to let go of things. Well said. Very well said. So what's dogma? Here's why dogma is bad. Dogma is not facts. Okay, so why it's sort of conflating facts a little bit. It says, when you're new, I'd start with the dogma to get familiar with symbolism. No, dogma is codified belief. Dogma is, it is this way and no other. So I usually use two different examples of dogma to help people understand. You have a theistic, superstitious priest of whatever religion on the left hand, and you've got a hardcore rational skeptic atheist on the right hand. Which one of them is dogmatic? Both of them. Neither one of them has anything resembling an open mind. Both of them have already decided what reality is, and they are unwilling to ever look at it another way. The rational skeptic will say magic and spirituality is total bullshit. It's all bumping particles, and you're just a brain in a skull, and that's it. And the theistic person says, well, that's all bullshit. That's not true. I'm whatever, a priest of blah, blah, blah. They're both dogmatic. Well, what about someone who says, I believe and I believe that they're both seeing reality? Is that possible? Is it possible that they're both seeing reality truly? Is that a fence sitter? It sounds like a fence sitter, but what if they're both seeing the same reality, but remember my rainbow analogy from before? They're just seeing their own version of the rainbow. What if there is an ultimate truth that both are looking at and both are accurately describing, but both of them are seeing their own iteration of that? They're seeing their own reflection of it. Here's a better analogy. Take a mirror, put it on the wall, take 10 steps back, and have a friend stand next to you 5 feet apart from you. And you both look in the mirror. Do you see the same thing? No. Do you both see the same mirror? Yes. How is that possible? You're both seeing a different reflection of the same truth. For the rational skeptic, their truth is truth. It works for them. It's their life. It is how they work. It's their dogma. And it works, and it's fine. The theistic person on the other side, they see their truth. They're both seeing the same objective thing, though. They're just disagreeing on what it looks like, on how it behaves. Which one of them is more objectively right? Neither one. They're both objectively less right. So what does it mean to be non-dogmatic? Well, it doesn't mean to be agnostic. Agnostic says, I don't know anything, which is fine. You can be agnostic and non-dogmatic. But being agnostic is not being non-dogmatic. Non-dogmatic is, it is not knowing. It is simply not implying knowledge that you don't have. It is simply not deciding that this knowledge is it. Being non-dogmatic is saying, there is something, and I may even know what it is, but it's not that, and it's not that, and it's not that, and it's not that, it's not that. It's actually via negativa. It's neti, taken to its logical conclusion. Being non-dogmatic says there is a source, there's a truth, there's a divine, there is an essence, there's a universe. Whatever word you like, use them all. Call it Brahman, call it chaos, call it the monad, call it whatever you want. But it is there. It is the noumenal reality that we all see, but we all see that noumenal reality in our own way. And that breaks down when we try to assert one version of it over another. Even two skeptics can't agree. Why should a skeptic and a theist agree? Alistair, he says, a dogmatic agnostic. There is no way of telling, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong. I love that. That's bingo. You got it. That is literally, that one thing right there really helps identify what dogmatism is. That's dogmatism from the agnostic. You just, dude, I want, that should be a tattoo. A dogmatic agnostic. There is no way of telling anyone there's no way of telling, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong. Damn, that is dogma personified. So avoid dogma, guys. Don't use dogma in the beginning. Don't treat it as the beginner's tool. Dogma is stupid. Dogma is the stupidest thing you can do. Now, I know, do I say dogmatic things from time to time? I haven't met anybody who doesn't. It's just part of life. It's part of arrogance. It's part of ego. It's part of who we are. Can't get away from it. But what you can do is you can, when you see it, you go, oh, yeah, maybe I'll do something different. I went through a dogmatic phase again recently because I was getting really, really skeptical again because I had a crash. My shit didn't seem to be working and I had a crash again. Because I was expecting it to produce results instead of produce manifestation.
Real quick.
I got full of my own, what, sweetie?
Elle's wishing us a good evening. Good evening to you too, Elle.
Yeah, Elle, great. Got to get you back on, bro. I miss you, man. Hope you're doing good. And we'll be going in a minute too, because I did say 2 hours and we're going on 2.5.
Yeah, I might get interrupted out here at some point, so I might I might pop off now.
Yeah. So I mean, full disclosure, even I do it. And I've been doing this for a long time and I still find myself falling into dogmatic states. I run into people will think that me being dogmatic means I'm skeptical. That's my usual form of dogma. But that's not it actually. The reason why I fell into skepticism again for a minute was because I fell into superstitious dogma instead. I believed that this would be the way it should work. And every time I do that, my dogma improves until it's the truth. Let the truth be your dogma, right? That's a fancy saying. But it also means let the truth be your dogma. Not what beliefs are. Not what people believe. Not even your own beliefs. That shouldn't be your dogma. All right, guys. So I think we're going to cut it here. Kamila, I overtalked to you like a bastard as usual, but you seem to have fun.
No, I'm cool. I like just working on stuff in the background.
So let's do the closing sellout shit. Let's sell out a little bit. On September 30th, we are having the get-together in Newark, New Jersey at QXT's. The link is there at the top for Iron Garden, which is how you can connect to that event. Or you can go to the Discord, which is linked through the description of this video. If you go on that LINKTREE, there is a link to my Discord. Join that, sign up, do all the stuff you got to do, and then join the East Coast room. That's where you can get info about it. But we're already looking at having a decent showing, not like hundreds of people, but there will be a lot of people at the event. But the Thorne contingent, as we may call it, looks like it's going to be, at the very minimum, me, Kamila, Flesh Priest, Eddie, Lumia, and I believe Alpha said that they're definitely coming. They got the hotel room. And there's probably going to be another half a dozen people on top of that. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at around 10 or 12 people, including Kamila, me, and Fleshy.
Because I believe there were some people that aren't on the Discord server but are on Facebook that said they were going to be attending too.
Mm-hmm. And I got to keep making sure I remind people so they remember to come. So it's going to be a fun night, and we're going to hang out at the club afterwards, and it's going to be a fun event. I hope. I've never met these people. For all I know, I'm going to be a fish out of water and be uncomfortable. So come and support me so I feel comfortable. That's a good way to put it. And then what was the other thing? Oh, and buy our crap. I know the economy sucks, but that's why we need you to buy our crap. It would help a little bit. Camilla's been making a lot of stuff and it hasn't been selling. I know it's mostly regulars, but if you see anything you like, don't hesitate.
To be fair, the mirrors I put up recently enough have been on the higher end of prices. I got to get some more affordable ones up.
Well, those sigil triangles are really good.
Oh yeah, I love.
Show that again.
I can't. What's that?
Show the sigil ones again.
The sigil one?
Yeah, the affordable ones.
Affordable. There's also micro mirrors this size up too.
Yeah, I think we should start doing some square shape ones inspired from that game that we've been playing a bunch.
No, I was planning on doing something. I was thinking about doing actual picture frames. I know it was mentioned at one point by another viewer. But I've been toying around with the idea because I am going to be working on a giant picture frame for one of our son's movie posters that he had that broke in storage. So I'm going to be working on that for him. I might, since I need to get a router to do shit with that, I might actually end up producing some frames that are like 8x10, 5x7, smaller sized, that are adorned like the mirrors.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be cool. I'd like to see that, yeah.
I'd like to do something like that.
I might want to do a couple simpler ones, but I like that. I hope you do it.
I would love to get some crushed stones on, have people hang them on their wall, and, family photos, occulted family photos would be fucking awesome, I think.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Show everybody what you got there real quick, and then let's sign off. What's going to be going up today, or what's up today, or whatever? Because you just put a bunch of new stuff up, right?
I put up the sigil frames, and I put up some 4 mirrors, 2 minis and 2 standard sized ones. Those I don't have with me. They're actually in the house right now.
Okay, they're all boxed up or something.
They're boxed up, ready to be stored.
Mm-hmm. But those sigil frames, what I like is what you said. You're going to be giving them the markers and the other stuff, like all included. So it's like a kit, basic.
Gel,
you know, you should
and probably 20 sheets that are cut to the size, because these are all handmade. Okay, so the angles are a little bit off. They're not perfect, so it might be like a little bit bigger on one side. So I try to cut them to the size of the actual frame that they're shipped with.
Yeah, and maybe take one of them out and use that for tracing if you want to get more paper than we're giving you, because we're giving you like 20 sheets of it, which is a lot.
Use one as a template.
Yeah, so, but these are cool. In fact, I think you should edit the entry to be a kit, not just whatever you called it. Like, put the word kit in there somewhere. Yeah. Because kits sell pretty well.
It's in the description, but yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, people need to know it's meant to be a kit. So it's a good starting kit, actually, if you want to work with sigils or spirit sigils, believe it or not. It would be a really good kit. So, yeah, all right. Check them out, guys.
I used this one the other day, and it was very effective.
Yep, and they're affordable. $30 for a nice frame that you can reuse. Yeah, that's a ritual tool now, guys. So that's what I want it for. And that's why you got to make me one of my own.
I'm going to make you one of your own. Maybe I'll make you a big one.
Not too big, because it's got to fit the paper. I like them in the, like the size of my fingers is good.
Yeah. Well, these are the 4 inches.
Yeah, that's fine. That's big enough.
It's about.
Oh, you know me, I'm going to put them point down anyway, because that's just how I roll.
Yeah, I like point down anyway.
But like I said, I wouldn't mind a square one too. Maybe make me a bit of both. So anyway, guys, until next time, I hope you guys had a fun time watching me rant. And until the next time that I rant, yeah, mind the shadows.
Mind the shadows.